Well, we are currently in the midst of a government shutdown purely spurred on by the Republican Party, and it should be fairly obvious why it's been spurred on purely by the Republican Party. They were not willing at all to negotiate with the Democratic Party, and it seems like for the time being, Chuck Schumer has decided to learn his lesson from his vote on culture that he had when he was, well, first having to deal with the fucking current government or not the current government shutdown, but the one before with the continuing resolution that needed a vote on culture in order to have it passed by a simple majority rather than have to go through the filibuster. Of course, we all know that Chuck Schumer whipped up the 7 votes needed in order to be able to have that go through, despite the fact that everyone in the party was saying, do not do this. This is a really bad idea. Do not do. Everyone in the House, everyone in the DNC, all the pundits, everybody was like completely dumbfounded by the actions that Chuck Schumer is trying to do here. So for the time being, he's not looking to repeat any of the actions. Thank fucking Christ, because if he did, dead party. Just a dead party. Or at the very least, wholeheartedly dead with people like Chuck Schumer currently in fucking office. So again, I've said this before, but you can't negotiate with people like the Republican Party because you keep capitulating and capitulating and capitulating to them. Eventually, they're just going to ignore you and just feel like they can just do whatever they want. Because for them, fundamentally speaking, it's all about power. And for people like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jefferies and all these other complete utter dipshits and morons, it for them, fundamentally speaking, it's all about just like sitting there twiddling their thumbs and just doing like namby-pamby fucking small tweaks around the fucking edges when people, broadly speaking, are sick and tired of just like small tweaks around the edges. They want radical fucking change, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, but they are people who are wholeheartedly incapable of being able to meet the current political moment that we're in. But here are people who are more likely to meet the political moment that we're in. I believe that Bernie Sanders, he had a clip saying that, oh, if the vote comes to the floor of the Senate, how are you going to vote? Are you going to vote no every single time? He's like, yes, of course. I'm never going to vote for any of that. Why should I? Like, that's very, very stupid.
Hey everybody, I was walking here in Washington, D.C., and who did I bump into? One of my favorite members of the United States Congress, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
And one of my favorite senators.
All right. Anyhow, as everybody knows, we are now in a government shutdown.
True.
Republicans are attacking Alexandria, attacking me. Why didn't you vote for this clean CR to keep the government open?
Well, there's nothing clean about it. This is one of the dirtiest tricks that is being pulled on the American people right now. Starting today, October 1st, and throughout the rest of the month, Americans across this country are going to start getting notifications that their insurance premiums are up to doubling. We're talking about...
Yep, and that's because of the one big beautiful bill, that one big, well, piece of dog shit that basically cut about $1 trillion from Medicaid and also SNAP in order to justify more tax cuts for the rich, and also cemented in place the Trump administration's first term tax cuts as well for the rich that significantly benefited them specifically. Now, the reason that they are constantly lying and, well, basically coming up with any fucking excuse possible to not fucking talk about the one big beautiful bill, because in their heart of hearts, they understand that if they keep talking about that, like, let's be quite honest here, the American people, in terms of their approval of the one big beautiful bill, it's not very high. It's not very good. People do not like the one big beautiful bill. It is complete, utter fucking dog shit. Why? Because they're just destroying rural hospitals, for example. And rural hospitals all across the country, in America, of course, are starting to close. And by the way, this is before the actual tax cuts get implemented, the cuts to Medicare and or rather Medicaid. There are also cuts effectively to Medicare because of the pay-go stipulations that exist on Medicare. Those are going to be violated because of the, budget not being... I'm trying to think what the best term would be here. It's solvent? I think it's solvent. I think that's the term. That's, broadly speaking, the reason why the Republican Party is trying to do everything possible to just steer the focus away from a lot of the actions they've done and just focus on talking about how it's the Democrats who wanted to provide money for illegals. Newsflash, douchebag. Medicare, Medicaid, and every social safety net that exists within the United States, as threadbare as they are, do not give any services to illegal migrants. That is a lie. And the reason why they keep saying this lie over and over and over again is because if they actually talk about the contents of the One Big Beautiful Bill, it's going to be really unpopular. And again, the One Big Beautiful Bill is already pretty fucking unpopular. We can fucking take a look at this. One Big Beautiful Bill Act approval rating. KFF Health Tracking Poll. Key takeaways. 6 in 10 Republicans have a favorable opinion of the poll. Only 6 in 10 of Republicans. That's not as high as I thought it would be. I thought it would at least be like 70 to 80%. Only 6 in 10? Yeah, sure, that's still a, big majority, but that's not very high. And again, the MAGA sort of base is supposed to be his main cult, and only getting about 60% approval rating from them? That's not particularly good. And obviously, we all know that everyone else, we don't really need to take a look at the Democratic numbers or the independent numbers because they're also down with them. But 60%? Oof. And the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which passed by House Republicans, is currently being discussed in the U.S. Senate, is viewed unfavorably. This was before it was even passed, by the way. It's viewed unfavorably by a majority of adults, which means the messaging on this has been quite effective and quite good, saying about, this bill is really bad, guys. It's not good. Including large majorities of independents and Democrats. I assume it's probably, if not in the 80s, maybe for the independents, it'd probably be in the 60s to the 70s. Definitely at least in the 90s, if not higher, amongst the Democratic Party. You never know. There's always some weirdo. But only 6 in 10 Republicans. 60% of them. Yikes. People do not like this bill. It's just bad. It's just cutting away healthcare. It's cutting away the social safety nets. It's cutting away, literally everything in order to give tax cuts to the rich. That's it. That's why it says unpopular as it is. And Republicans can't really do not want to face the music on any of that stuff.
Say that again.
Your insurance, your monthly insurance premiums are going to double for millions of people across the country.
At a time when we are already paying, by far, the highest prices in the world.
You know what I wish they would also talk about? Besides just healthcare, we should probably also talk about how the One Big Beautiful Bill is being used to give billions upon billions of dollars to ICE as well. I feel like that's incredibly fucking important to probably mention. The fact that these ICE Gestapo fucking freaks are getting how much fucking money? I think they have are getting a budget of about $38 billion, which is higher than most fucking militaries, for fuck's sake. Dog, what the fuck? There's statistics out there saying that they ICE alone is getting more money than most European fucking militaries, which is insane to think about.
For healthcare at a time when people can't afford it right now. So what happens?
That means people getting bankrupt over chemotherapy, people going to the pharmacy and not being able to get their insulin. And frankly, it means a lot of Americans are going to be in danger. And Republicans want us to rubber stamp that. So what are we going to say to that, Bernie?
Well, I'll tell you, it's not only be in danger. Let's be clear. And doesn't make me happy to have to say this. But there have been studies out there that when you combine doubling premiums for the ACA and then throwing 15 million people off of Medicaid and the ACA, the result is, according to studies at Yale and the University of Pennsylvania, 50,000 low-income, working-class Americans will die every single year. All right? If you don't have them,
and keep in mind, and this is a statistic that Bernie used to constantly rail on before in like the campaign trail, he would constantly talk about just the amount of people who would always die from the fact that healthcare premiums were going up as high as they were. Like, generally speaking, like, the Republican Party is wholeheartedly okay with their core constituencies and a lot of different people just dying due to like preventable fucking diseases because people won't be able to fucking afford healthcare. Because in reality, this is a party that is, well, pro death of the American people.
money to go to a doctor and you're sick, you die. And that's what we're looking at. That's what this clean bill is about.
And so Republicans want us to rubber stamp that. And we're saying no. We need to stand up for the American people. We need to stand up for our healthcare system. And if they want our votes, they need to make sure that we're protecting every American and making sure that we can do what we can to continue to make healthcare accessible, affordable, as we work to make it a human right for all.
Right. So let me just back that up. Remember, right now, our healthcare system is broken. Right now, we're the only major country on earth not to guarantee healthcare to all people. And these guys want to make it even worse. We're not going to let that happen.
No, we're not.
Thank you.
Onward.
That's true. That is true. They are trying to make it get it worse. But what do we have here? More stuff from AOC talking about the shutdown. Because right now, it's just going to be the two parties basically negotiating with one another to try to make some kind of a fucking deal. Like I said before, personally, I think there is way more to talk about and negotiate over just the fact that the healthcare situation is what's going to be main thing that gets worse. Like, you could probably get movement more from the Republicans. But the thing with Schumer and Jefferies is that they are, well, very weak-willed fucking cowards. And the only thing that they seemingly are willing to only fight on is just the ACA credits extensions. Which, I mean, I guess is better than fucking nothing. But, like, dog, there is so many more things that you could potentially use as leverage against the Republican Party. And this is such a good opportunity in order to be able to do that. But, like I've said before, that man Schumer and Jeffries, or those two guys, they're not here to fucking meet the moment. They're not going to meet the moment because they just can't do it. But what do we have here?
Just a few hours at midnight, the federal government is expected to shut down. It'll be the first government shutdown since the last time Donald Trump was president. A new poll by NPR, PBS, and Marist shows that if the government does shut down tonight, which we fully expect, Americans would blame Republicans more than Democrats, with 38% of respondents blaming Republicans, 27% blaming Democrats, and 31% blaming both parties. Meanwhile, the president today said from the Oval Office that Democrats are to blame, warned that he would use a shutdown to his political advantage.
A lot of good can come down from shutdowns. We can get rid of a lot of things that we didn't want, and they'd be Democrat things.
Yeah, so he's currently, from what I understand, he's like currently trying to threaten a bunch of people, like firing a bunch of like federal workers, which, by the way, is basically irrelevant. Like, who the fuck cares if this dumbass decides to fire a bunch of federal workers? By the way, all the federal workers these guys have been consistently firing just keep getting rehired because it turns out they need those people in order to be able to work those positions. So again, like, it's like, okay, you can threaten to fire them, but you're just going to rehire them anyways. So, like, who gives a shit?
Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a Democrat in New York. She's executive board member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, and she joins me now. Congresswoman, it does look like we are headed towards a shutdown. What do you see as the Democratic strategy and message here for a government funding bill?
I mean, Chris, we're here to help people. We are here in the midst of this destruction of the federal government, the federal safety net, $1 trillion eviscerated from people's health care, their Medicare, their Medicaid in this country, with prices that are skyrocketing and life becoming completely untenable for the American people. We are here to try to be a backstop and to be that backstop, which is what the American people have elected us to do.
So right now there's this sort of back and forth about the ACA tax credits. And there's kind of a strange dynamic that I want to get your sense of, right? Because at one level, negotiating over the ACA tax credits is important. I mean, there are people going to see their premiums go up 15, 20%. Like, huge amounts are going to spike. Republicans don't like these extenders. Democrats do. They think it's good for people. But that's fully in the lane of, like, normal politics. And then at the same time, like, the president of the United States assembled 800 military commanders to say, I want you, you're going to have to go to war against your fellow citizens in American cities. I think...
Yeah. We just took a look at that fucking weird LARP shit not that long ago from both Pete Hegseth and also the President of the United States talk about like, well, I don't like my enemies and I just want to fucking murder people because in reality, I have a lot of hate in my heart, folks. I'm not a big fan of all those people who keep calling me mean, icky, and stinky. I'm not very happy about the fact that people are calling me mean, icky, and stinky. Like, I'm not happy about it, folks, let me tell you. And it's just like, dog, maybe people would stop calling you that. Maybe, just maybe, if you stopped ruining people's lives. But then again, like, that's kind of like a difficult, like, line of thought and concept for people like Donald Trump, who is totally okay with, like, ruining people's lives. But, he doesn't give a fuck about any of that stuff. Like, I mean, with people like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, well, he's just allowed to just run rampant and run free and just, like, ruin as many people's lives as possible because, again, no significant pushback is being offered by the leaders of the fucking opposition party.
People are having a little bit of a hard time of, like, we're going to have a fight on the shutdown about the tax credits, but not about the president wants to declare war on Americans, even though I understand those two are conceptually distinct. Do you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, Chris, but...
I do agree with what Chris Hayes is talking about here. Yeah, like, I've even brought up the same sort of criticism. It's like, okay, talking about the tax credits in terms of the ACA to have some coverage for a lot of people, it makes sense. Okay, sure, yeah. I don't have a problem with that conceptually, okay? I understand that. Are we not going to talk about ICE? Are we not going to talk about, like, the Gestapo freaks constantly going around gallivanting about and just trying to, like, murder a bunch of people? Are we not going to talk about that? I feel like there's a bunch of other things that we can also cover and think about. Like, no, not from Chuck Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries. Only the ACA and that's it? Okay, whatever.
You know, I think that's something for us to really set the record straight here on. This is not a fight over tax credits. This is a fight over your ability to go to a pharmacy and afford your insulin. We're not talking about just 15 or 20% increases in people's premiums. Tomorrow, healthcare companies and today, healthcare companies are finalizing the premiums that everyday Americans are going to be paying. And we are talking about a doubling of monthly healthcare premiums, not even including your deductible, in terms of what people are going to be paying next year because of $1 trillion in Medicaid cuts that were put together earlier this year. And I don't know about anybody else, but I do not think that this is just about a tax break or a small tax extender. This is about fighting not just on tax breaks, community health centers, and ensuring that we have a stability of the American healthcare system. And when Republicans use a legislative mechanism to gut the American healthcare system, we have to use a legislative mechanism in order to restore it and to fight for it. Because at the end of the day, you know, people may talk about tax credits this and tax credits that. What they do understand is when you have insulin and you can't afford it. What they do understand is when your kid has chemotherapy or your spouse gets diagnosed with cancer and you go into a hospital and it doesn't get covered. And you have to choose life and death, what this is about. Now, that does not mean that we ignore the abhorrent violation of law and norms and what is happening with our U.S. cities, but we have a broad spectrum of ways and places that we can fight, including our governors, our attorney generals, and our state and municipal leaders, as you just saw.
Okay, so... I think that, I mean, this is a fine answer here by AOC, right? Like, sort of just trying to leave it up more to the governors and try to figure out within the courts, which, again, and I think it makes a lot of sense why she's deciding to approach it in this way. I don't necessarily blame her. I understand that this is, like, purview of the federal government, and that's why she's saying that this is what they're going to do. The thing as to why the fascistic sort of takeover of the United States has not been as effective is because there are no partial courts to Trump. The courts do not like Trump. Even Trump appointees that he has put in don't really like Trump all that much at all. And they are willing to actually be, well, nonpartisan, I think. I shouldn't say that they're not, that they don't like Trump. That's not accurate. They're nonpartisan in reality. Yeah, the only people, yeah, exactly, Boy Meets Me. The only people who capitulate to him is just the Supreme Court, which is why he always appeals every thing to try to have it go up to the Supreme Court, because he knows that they are going to be deferential to him. And one of the reasons why the Nazis were as successful as they were was because they had judges in all levels of the fucking Weimar Republic who were partial to them. That is why. Who were partial specifically to Hitler, which was why he was as successful in subverting the structures of the Weimar Republic as it was. Not the case here. Every single time Trump fights something in court, The lower courts slap that shit down, and he's forced to have to appeal, which is a complete like legal process and takes a lot of time in of itself to sort of be litigated out, and will more often than not be sent back down to lower courts. So they just slap the shit out of it and be like, okay, we're no, you try like stop trying to appeal. It's what you're doing is unconstitutional and illegal. Because the only reason why he appeals everything constantly to the Federal Court of Appeals is so it can go up to the Supreme Court. And in most cases, they don't go there. Most cases. Some cases, like that racial profiling case, and there was a recent ruling by the Supreme Court saying that his sweeping powers on tariffs are actually okay. So that's great, fantastic. Basically subverting Congress's ability to have a say over what goes on with the purse. So that's cool, great, fantastic. Thank you, Supreme Court. Very cool. You guys are, I assume, are very, very fucking popular. And in terms of the partialness of the judiciary, that's not there like it was during Weimar Germany or during the rise of the Nazis within 1930s Germany. The same conditions are just not there, which is why it is a lot more difficult for the Republicans to be as successful as, like, say, other fascistic parties that have taken over in the past, because the courts are just not partial to them.
So I just want to make sure I understand this just from your perspective here. So, and I think this is generally the view of congressional leadership as well. You can correct me if I'm wrong. If there was bipartisan compromise, right? If everyone came together, the leaders of the parties, the president, and said, yes, these 5 things, we're going to make sure that these premium supports keep going. We're going to fund community health centers, whatever the sort of asks on appropriation around people's affordable health care. If those were met, Democrats would be a yes. Like, that is the box that this is happening in, as opposed to we can't fund a Department of Justice that prosecutes political enemies or whatever else might be out there.
Well, let me tell you, Chris, the mechanism by which that deal is locked is not just about agreeing in concept on tax credits. We need to do it with no tricks, no games, and no backdoors, which includes rescissions. And when we talk about rescissions,
right,
that is the mechanism that the federal government is using to gut and destroy rule of law across the board. So we are fighting to ensure that healthcare is protected for every American. But the way that we do that also means that the only way that you guarantee that is by forcing them to adhere to the rule of law, which means eliminating the rescission loopholes that they put in the CR earlier this year, which the Senate unfortunately had caved on then, and we're ensuring that doesn't happen now.
Yeah, the quick 10-second version for people that haven't followed this is that, you need 60 votes to get the filibuster to appropriate funds for the government, but they can pass a rescission, which is to claw back some of the money already agreed to by 50 votes. So they have this kind of like cake and eat it too model where it's like, oh yeah, we'll come together, we'll pass a bipartisan appropriations bill, and then when we've done that, then we'll go and get rid of the stuff we don't like, which just seems like an insane way to negotiate.
It's no way to negotiate. And again, we don't even have to get into the technicalities.
I mean, it's because in reality, and as we all probably know, like, the Republican Party is wholeheartedly uninterested in negotiations. They don't give a fuck about trying to negotiate with, well, ostensibly a party that's been always willing to fucking capitulate up to them up front. That's all on you, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. You're the motherfuckers who are at fault for that.
Of this. But what is important to understand is that the way that you honor an agreement and the way that we honor our fight for healthcare and to define and to also protect everyday Americans' ability to afford their healthcare, to cover their kids, to defend Medicaid, those are the same mechanisms that we use to defend our rule of law, to defend the federal workers that we are trying to protect in this shutdown. Donald Trump is trying to play this bluffing game of, well, maybe what we're going to do is hold all the federal workforce hostage and fire everybody. Donald Trump has been firing everybody. We saw this with Doge. We've seen
Yeah, I'm very, very glad that the AOC is bringing up this point. There's no point. The threat is like completely hollow from Trump in terms of like talking about wanting to fire people, because he's already been doing that. Like, he's been doing that already. It's just like, okay, bro, I mean, you've been doing that shit already, so like, why the fuck would I care about that? Like, you just do it anyways, so whatever. Like, you're just lucky that Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are such weak, pathetic fucking losers who are willing to capitulate up to you up front, and that's why you're able to get away with a lot of the fucking bullshit that you get away with. But well, I digress. This is the current situation that we find ourselves in, with really weak, pathetic, ineffective Democratic leadership. But you're not going to see AOC come out against that too hard. even though she should. The thing is with motherfuckers like Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer is the reason why a lot of the Republican Party thinks that they could just run roughshod on you the way that they've been running roughshod on you is because, broadly speaking, Donald Trump knows that you're going to inherently capitulate up front anyways, and that you guys are just not going to fucking put up much of a fight anyways. So that's why they just feel like we can just get away with whatever we want because the Democrats are weak fucking babies and they're losers, folks. Let me tell you. And it's just like, damn, kind of hard to not argue against that because in reality, like, in every instance, like, the centrists have been constantly fucking capitulating to the fucking goddamn fascists. So it's like, it's kind of difficult to be like, well, I mean, he's not wrong there. He's not lying. What he's saying is truthful, but this is why I really fucking hate goddamn centrists, man. God, they're so fucking weak and pathetic. But what she's saying here is like is overall correct. Like, it's just like, yeah, I mean, like, we're dealing with a side that's just like fundamentally dishonest. Like, we're not gonna, like, if they threaten to do whatever, it's like, okay, I mean, they could threaten to do all of this and that and whatnot, but because I mean, they've been doing that already. Like, it doesn't matter.
This at the State Department. We've seen this at the Department of Justice. They are firing everybody. They are completely eliminating the federal workforce. And in order for us to stop this madness, we have to put a stop to it. And we have to stop enabling their abuse of power, including their use of rescissions. And when we're fighting on their health care, it forces them to act in ways in accordance with the law in other ways, too.
Let me ask you this. There are some people I've seen who have the following theory of why Senate Democrats have not cut a deal where they give 8 votes and you know, move along. And that is that Chuck Schumer is worried about a primary challenge from you and is worried about the politics to his left flank. And so because of that worry about a primary challenge, he's going to shut down the government. Ergo, it is AOC's fault that the government's shutting down, or that you're somehow the kind of fulcrum of this. And I want to just ask you straight up, like, are you planning to primary challenge him? Do you think that's why he's doing this?
This is not about me in this moment.
Stupid.
This is about people being able to insure their children. And I will say, because I saw some senators speculating about this.
Yeah, because I'm going to tell you right now, yeah, she's not going to fucking answer that question, because why the fuck would she answer that question? That's such a stupid fucking question. But then again, like, Daho, are you trying to tell me that, like, right-wing conspiratorial freaks who just want to attack the Democrats for, like, literally any reason will just come up with, like, literally anything possible in order to justify their fucking attacks against people? No, say it ain't so. Daho, that can't be the case. That's like crazy talk.
And I saw some Republican members of Congress saying, oh, well, if we have this shutdown, it's because of AOC. Well, if that's the case, my office is open and you are free to walk in and negotiate with me directly. Because what I'm not going to do is tolerate 4 million uninsured Americans because...
That laugh for Chris Hayes is fucking funny, bro. That's fucking funny. Holy shit. Yeah, that's a Stacey moment. Okay, that's a Giga Stacey moment. Very, very good. That's how you actually show a bit of a fucking backbone, Chuck Schumer. Hey, Chuck, you should probably be taking some notes right now. But I'm sorry, the Baileys told me that I have to be like a jellyfish, which means I have to instantaneously capitulate and cower to the Republican Party. It's what I have to do. That's what the Baileys have been telling me to do consistently. So it's just like, hey, Chuck. This is what you gotta fucking do, bro. Like, you can't back down with these people. They literally put Hakeem Jeffries in a fucking goddamn sombrero with a fucking mustache and started playing mariachi music in the background. These are the people that you're fucking dealing with. You don't negotiate with these people. You beat them down. Like, you can't negotiate with fucking terrorists. And the Republican Party are just a bunch of fucking goddamn terrorists. You don't negotiate with them. You can't.
Because Donald Trump decided one day that he wants to just make sure that kids are dying because they don't have access to insurance. That's what's not going to happen. And so if those senators think that we're having a shutdown because of me, they're free to enter my office and negotiate, because what we're not going to do is allow all of millions of people in this country to not be able to afford their insulin and their chemotherapy. So come strike a deal with me if that's what they really think is going on.
There is, over the last week, it seems a lot of people, and I include myself in that.
From what I understand is that, like, apparently that sort of, like, that message was, like, causing some fucking confusion. And I just have to ask, in, like, what way is that fucking causing confusion? Like, this is just how you show fucking leadership, Democrats. Like, this is how you just not be a fucking coward, Democrats. This is how you do not capitulate to incredibly dishonest actors, Democrats. You know, maybe instead of just being, like, cowards and just thinking about what the Baileys want to do, you actually show a fucking backbone and do, well, leadership. Just some food for thought.
Feel like a sort of rising sense of alarm about the aggressiveness of the sort of authoritarian aspirations of this government. Essentially firing a U.S. attorney to replace him with a patsy who will indict a political enemy. The continued threat of using the military on American citizens, the ordering the troops to Portland and then backing up because it was 5-year-old B-roll. I don't know. Do you feel the same way over this last week or two? Does it feel like continuity to you? Are there conversations in your caucus about what this last week has meant?
I think there's two things that are happening at once, and this is something that's very important for people to understand. One, there absolutely is an unprecedented abuse of power, destruction of norms, erosion of our government and our democracy in order to prop up an authoritarian style of governance. That is happening. However, they are weaker than they look, and it is important that we remember that, because what they rely on is the impression of power, the perception of inevitability, in us giving up in advance to say, oh, what's going to happen if I stand up, etc. Nothing's going to happen. They rely on that perception of inevitability and power so that people comply in advance and acquiesce in advance and give up in advance.
She's 1000% correct here. Because again, she's hitting it right out of the fucking park. This is fantastic here by AOC. This is exactly what the Republican Party, and specifically Trump, is hoping to rely on. This is 1000%, 100% clear. Again, like I mentioned earlier, the reason why the Nazis were as successful as they were was because they had the fucking courts on their side. The Trump administration does not have that on their side this time. So again, this is going to be inherently fucking unsuccessful. This is not going to work out as well as the Republican Party thinks that it will. This is just not going to work. That's the thing. For the authoritarian takeover to actually work out like the Republicans think it will, several things need to be put in place. They needed the judiciary on their side. Judiciary. I always tongue twist when I say that word, for fuck's sake. They don't have that, which is a pretty fucking important thing, because guess what? The federal judiciary can just keep smacking down and shutting down literally any fucking goddamn sort of objective that the Republican Party has, or that Trump, broadly speaking, has. And I'll just lump in the entirety of the Republican Party here, because it's more or less, it's one and the fucking same in terms of their objectives. The judiciary being intact and not being being one of the main things that's stopping them right now from being as terrible as they are is probably one of the biggest reasons as to why it's not being as bad as it fucking can really be. Because trust me, if you think it's bad, it can absolutely be a lot worse. Not that I'm trying to downplay how bad it is. It is bad. I'm don't get it fucking twisted, okay? I do think that what is going on right now is absolutely fucking terrible. Objectively fucking speaking, a lot of people are suffering for no fucking goddamn reason. But for the Nazis, why they were as successful as they were, and I compare to them constantly, because listen, there's a lot of similarities there. Okay, Pepe. The reason why they were as successful is because, again, they literally had the courts and judges also on their sides. They were also on their sides. So it was a lot easier for Hitler to be able to do a lot of the crazy shit that he was able to get away with, simply due to the fact that, well, hey, if I have a judiciary that's going to be way more partial to my positions, it means I can get away with more stuff. Keep in mind, Hitler was slated to go to jail, and the reason why he ended up getting a lighter sentence than usual was because the right-wing judge that was presiding over the case was partial to him. That is why.
And at the end of the day, Donald Trump is at record levels of unpopularity in his tenure. The Republican House is at record levels of unpopularity. They are underwater across the board, and they know it. And that is causing them to double down in public, but it is backfiring. That is why, whether it's a shutdown, whether it's all of this, they want us to blink first. And we have too much to save. Protecting people is too important a task for us to give up before anything even starts. So they may want to send people in, but these National Guardsmen do not want to be turned against their fellow Americans. We're seeing this here in Washington, D.C. It is an insult. Donald Trump is insulting the service members of this country by putting them on these silly tasks that they themselves do not want to be enforcing. And so we have to understand that standing up matters, that our voice matters, to not give in to the cynicism, because that is what they rely on in order to perpetuate this idea that they are that they have total immunity from consequence. They will experience the consequences of this, but we have to be the consequence, which is why we have to stand tall right now, alongside everyday Americans who want us to be standing up right now as well.
I want to, final question for you is about a ruling that came from a federal district judge who's been on the bench for decades and was appointed by Ronald Reagan. It's in the case of Ramesa Ozturk and a few other.
Yeah, Pritzker stands up a little all of a sudden, but so what I'm seeing on video isn't true. So Portland is burning down. Are you sure about that? Yeah, exactly. That's not what Pete is telling me, though. I mean, again, like Grandpa fucking Simpson moment, right? Like Trump is a doddering old man whose brain is fucking leaking out of his ears. Like his brain barely functions as usual. Like that's the fucking problem that we also have to also consider. But again, like the problem is, and for us, the same point that I'm going to constantly reiterate over and over and over again, the reason why it is as bad as it is because of, like, it takes two to fucking tango, right? Like, weak, incredibly weak, ineffective democratic governance and leadership is part of the reason for as to why it is as bad as it is. Like, that's not like ridiculous or hyperbolic to say. We can all fucking agree to that. Like, the Democrats have as much of a role to play in this. Not AOC. I don't include really AOC in this sort of like sort of criticism. I'm talking about broader fucking leadership. The Hakeem Jefferies and the other centrist fucking do nothing corporate dipshits. They have a huge amount of fucking culpability for as to why it is as bad as it fucking is. Because again, they just capitulated instantaneously up front. And that's the fucking problem. Like, and everyone is pretty fucking pissed with them. Again, like, not only are the Democrats facing, Republicans facing record low disapproval ratings, same with the Democratic Party as well. Everyone is pretty fucking upset about the sort of like behaviors and actions of both parties. The abstemiousness of the Democratic Party and the outright sort of like fascistic, like thuggishness and goonery of the Republican fucking goddamn party. And people are, broadly speaking, sick and tired of all of this fucking bullshit. No one wants to deal with it anymore. And no one wants to deal with the thuggery, the buffoonery, the oafishness at all whatsoever. And so, well, as a result, people fucking, broadly speaking, hate both parties. And it makes sense to me why they fucking hate both parties. I also hate both parties. I think they're both fucking dog shit. But then again, we also have to acknowledge the point is just like, well, I mean, this is currently what we are stuck with at the moment. So, like, we just kind of have to deal with that at the moment before it can get to, like, you know, before we can basically try to move forward. Like, we just have to get through all this bullshit and then try to build something better. Approximately 60% of us don't want to deal with it anymore. This is true. And I mean, it's going to cause fucking broader general apathy, I think, as well, which I also think is not good, right? The fact that people are going to grow way, way, way more apathetic with fucking politics because of just, like, the outright just tomfoolery and complete utter fucking nonsense that is going on because of this fucking administration is really bad. And yeah, like, I was gonna get to that, Boy Meets Mini. That is the point, right? With the current people that are in power, the oligarchs, the corporations, the rich, they want to make it such that, well, the point is that they are the ones on top and that they are the ones who maintain controls of the annals of power. And so you being apathetic, you wanting to disarm and not want to fight anymore is exactly the outcome that they are fucking looking for. So under every circumstance, you have to stay animated, you have to be paying attention, and you have to be fucking talking about stuff. Again, like, that's like the sort of role that I'm taking in this. Also doing activism, doing mutual aid, organizing, blah 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 blah. You know, all the standard like lefty shit as well goes here as expected, and those are also, generally speaking, a lot of very, very good things to be doing as well. Like, it's a multifaceted thing, very, very important stuff that you have to be consistently fucking paying attention to. And like, I mean, broadly speaking, this is just what has to be done. Because again, all of your rights can consistently backslide and just like get worse and worse and worse depending on who are the ones currently in power. And well, the Republican Party is trying to be as brazen and fucking ridiculous about it, and it's just going to. I think it's just not going to work out for them. Like, their approval ratings are all in the shitter. Nobody likes what they're doing. People are fucking pissed. Like, no one wants to deal with the like general like oafishness and buffoonery and the lies from not only the Republican Party, but also from that of the fucking Democratic Party. People, generally speaking, are fucking pissed, and they are very, very aware of the current conditions that they find themselves under, and they're willing to put up a fight. They're not gonna just like lay down their arms and fucking die. They're gonna put up a fight. Because, again, at this point, a lot of people, I think, are politically activated and are willing to acknowledge and understand, like, oh, I mean, if we just literally stop and do nothing, it's cooked. Like, wallahi, it is cooked. It's over. Like, we need to do everything fucking possible in order to just stop this oafish buffoonery and try to, well, for lack of a better term, push for something significantly better. Because, again, broadly speaking, the American people understand that this shit's not fucking sustainable anymore.
Individuals whose alleged their free speech, First Amendment rights as protected by the Constitution were violated by ICE grabbing them because of things they said or wrote. And one of the things he gets to is the masking of ICE agents, which is something that we've seen in New York City, here in Chicago, and around. He says, the court has listened carefully to the reason given by Ozturk's captors for masking up. It rejects this testimony as disingenuous, squalid, and dishonorable. ICE goes mass for a single reason, to
this was so we're now talking about fucking ICE. I really would like AOC to constantly be talking about and railing on ICE as well, to be honest, because again, in the one big beautiful bill, ICE is getting a huge fucking increase in terms of its fucking budget, like enormous increase in terms of its budget. Like, it is a lot of, like, they're gonna have more money than like smaller fucking militaries in Europe, dude. Like, it's insane how much money they're getting. And again, like, we all know why ICE is fucking masking up. It's because they know, and the administration knows, everybody fucking knows what they are doing is wrong, but they're just going ahead with it anyways. Again, when there was economic downturns and bad times during the fucking Weimar Republic, what did fucking Hitler do in order to basically ingratiate the youth to his side? That was basically offer them well-paying jobs within the fucking the paramilitary groups, and not der Stürmer, but in the fucking Sturm gangs and all the sort of like Nazi fucking paramilitary groups and the secret police. And would it surprise anyone that Donald Trump and the Republican Party are also engaging in seemingly the exact same fucking thing? Makes you think, doesn't it?
terrorize Americans into quiescence. A federal judge appointed by Reagan. In all our history, we've never tolerated an armed mass secret police. Carrying on in this fashion, ICE brings indelible obloquy to this administration and everyone who works in it. Is it at all bracing to read a Reagan-appointed federal district judge write something like that in finding that Ramius Ozturk's and others' rights were violated?
Of course. I mean, once, as you said, for a Reagan-appointed
really
judge to be out and out talking about secret police in the United States of America in the year 2025 tells us everything about what's going on. And we get to these extremes through these small erasures and steps when everyone says makes an exception here or makes an exception there. And then before you know it, you have masked agents roaming the streets of this country that do not feel entitled to identify themselves or do not feel like as though they answer to the American people at all. That is dangerous. And it is not without saying, it does not go without saying that the people that they went after first are some of the most vulnerable activists in the United States, which is to say pro-Palestinian organizers and young people, especially those who are on green cards or on visas. And the idea that we would allow our freedom of speech to be violated and create exceptions to that for people who are advocating for the lives of Palestinians, it erodes at the very core of American identity too. Because this is a land of the free, but only as long as we defend it and make it so. And so we have a responsibility to ensure that these individuals are protected, including Mahmoud Khalil, who the Trump administration is currently trying to move to deport.
Again.
Yes, in fact, trying very, very hard as we speak. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I guess this is broadly speaking the current shutdown that's going on. Again, the shutdown is on. The Democrats are holding for now, but who knows, given the sort of, I suppose, fickleness, for lack of a better term, of Hakeem Jefferies and Chuck Schumer. Because, again, well, I just had a meeting with the Baileys, and the Baileys are telling me that they don't like what's going on with the shutdown. We have to do everything possible in order to capitulate to the Republican Party to reopen the government. We have to reopen it, folks. We got to do it. And it's just like, dog, fuck the Baileys, fuck your schizophrenic friends that you have, Chuck. Like, no one fucking likes them. Everyone fucking hates them. Like, you need to stop, little bro. The Baileys don't like you. They are Republicans. Memes aside, of course, these were great answers here by both AOC and, of course, Bernie. There is no reason to treat the Republican Party at all as honest actors. They have proven time and 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 time again that they are not honest actors. Nothing that they say or do should be believed, and they should be actively laughed out of the room under every fucking circumstance because they are just not honest. You do not negotiate with terrorists. And I don't know about you, the Republican Party seems to be acting more and more terroristy, I suppose, for lack of a better term. More and more and more. So again, spare me, Republicans. I could give less of a shit about all of your like bitching, moaning, and fucking complaining that you're inevitably going to do. You motherfuckers are the reason as to why the conditions have gotten as bad as they are right now, because of the fact that you keep passing incredibly ridiculous, unpopular shit that no one fucking likes or ever fucking asked for. You motherfuckers are the problem, and you guys are unwilling to face any of the consequences for the fact that you just want to pass a bunch of tax cuts for your fucking rich buddies up in like fucking Wall Street and shit. So again, fucking spare me it. As far as I'm concerned, the Democratic Party should not capitulate at all to these terrorists. You do not negotiate with these terrorists. I'm going to keep saying the same point again. These people are fucking terrorists. You don't negotiate with them. You force them to come to you in order to negotiate. Otherwise, I don't think there's really much else to say besides, do not negotiate with these motherfuckers. You should not negotiate with any of these motherfuckers because, again, as has been said before, consistently, these are complete, utter fucking psychopaths and freaks who are wholeheartedly unwilling in order to either open up in terms of dialogue, talk with anyone at all whatsoever, and are just doing this for the fact that they just want to go after who they perceive as their current political opponents. So, again, you do not negotiate ever at all with people like the Republican Party because they themselves are wholeheartedly uninterested in good faith fucking negotiations themselves. So, you keep the fucking government shut down. That's basically the play right now. You keep it shut down, and if the Republicans want to bitch, moan, cry, and complain, that's their problem. Cope and seethe, Jack. Like, eat shit and die. Come and fucking negotiate with us. Because we have been willing to talk with you guys this whole time, except you motherfuckers do not want to fucking talk with us. So, whatever. We're just going to keep the government shut down until you guys decide to, for lack of a better term, come out of the fucking woodwork and talk with us. And I think that is entirely the correct position. Because, again, the Republican Party, the only reason why they're doing this is because they just want to give more corporate fucking tax cuts to their rich fucking buddies and cut a ton of people away from their fucking health care. That's really about it. I don't think there's really much else to say besides you do not negotiate with terrorists.